Hi there, my name's Darrell. It's great to see you and welcome to Old Man Cycling. Now this is a video that I've wanted to make for quite a while because I've had my e-bike here for about 9 months and I haven't ridden my ordinary road bike in all of that time. So what I'm going to do today is a comparison. Now bear in mind that my old road bike is getting on for 20 years old and my new e-bike is less than a year, so it's crammed with modern technology, whereas my old bike isn't. But what I'm going to do is a fairly subjective test. I'm going to do 2 laps of a 2-mile course that's mainly flat with a little bit of a climb at the end, and the first run what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go around at a reasonable pace the way that I would normally do a ride and just give you my feelings on the bike itself, and then I'm going to do the lap again but try and push it as hard as I can for that 2 miles, just to see the difference when I swap from my old road bike to my e-bike. Just before we start, I'm going to give you a quick look at the 2 bikes. I'm not going to spend any time going into the real details of the e-bike because I did that a few videos ago, but I'm going to highlight the main differences. Now the main difference is the weight. Now I put them on the bathroom scales this morning, and the old Giant TCR came in at 9.6 kilograms, and that's with a full water bottle on. I kept that on while I was weighing it. And the Orbea D30 came in at 16 kilograms with the full water bottle on. The Orbea is nearly 6 kilograms heavier. The TCR does have a fairly good group set. It's got a 105 group set, albeit that it's 15 years old, but it's got rim brakes as well, whereas the Orbea's got disc brakes. And so I'm sure I will feel a difference, but I imagine that the biggest difference will be the weight. So let's stop talking and let's get on with the laps. You can really tell just handling the TCR how light it is. I'm picking it up now with 2 fingers. So the weight will probably play quite a big difference. Now, to stop the test being completely subjective, I have planned the route into my Wahoo, and so I will time it as well. Now that'll be important for the second lap when I push as hard as I can, because we'll get a time from both runs to compare each bike to see how much difference it makes. So this first run on the TCR is just going to be to get a feeling about how it feels, and straight out the blocks I've got to admit it feels really good for a bike that is getting on for 20 years old. It was a decent bike when I bought it and it feels really nice still, considering that I haven't ridden it for over 9 months. It's very smooth, it's very quiet, everything feels together, and so far I'm really liking it. Now the only difference I noticed was just pulling away. Now I think I might have been in a slightly too high a gear, really. It's just wherever I left the gears at the end of the last ride. But at the moment I'm cruising along at 16 miles an hour very, very comfortably. I'm getting no pain from my knees, and I'm really enjoying it so far. Now I've just gone around a corner and had to apply the brakes for the first time, and yeah, I did feel that they would stop me, but the difference between rim brakes and disc brakes is quite startling. You do feel you've got a lot more control with disc brakes. I am noticing the difference even after just 1.5 miles, how much more out of breath I feel. Normally after this distance on the e-bike, I don't have any trouble talking to the camera, and I've not been really motoring, so I've not been pushing that hard, but I am struggling that bit more to talk to the camera, so I can tell that having to do that little bit more work is taking its toll. So that was the first lap done on my Giant TCR, and it felt really good. I can't deny that the bike still feels great. It took me 8 minutes 8 seconds to do 2.1 miles because I wasn't pushing it too hard, and I had an average speed of 15.5 miles an hour, which I don't think is too bad. I didn't have any pain in my knees, and it was all good. So what I'm going to do now, once I've got my breath back, is I'm going to do the same route again, but during this route what I'm going to do is I'm going to concentrate on pushing as hard as I can. So I might not talk to the camera quite as much, except just to give you a feeling on how it's going. So when I was on this route before, I was cruising down here at about 15 miles an hour, and I'm now doing 20. I don't know how long I'll be able to sustain this for, but I'm going to try and keep it going as long as I can. Whew. Right, I'm onto the home straight. I've got about 0.6 of a mile to go. I know I'm going to smash the time from my last lap. And it's been pretty straightforward as well, other than the fact I am really unfit. I think the main takeaway from that lap was just how unfit I am. 2.1 miles at that pace really has made me out of breath. It's taken me a few minutes to get back to a position where I can talk. Now, the overall ride time for that lap was 7 minutes 14, so I'm not nearly a minute off that 2 mile stretch, and I did an average speed of 17.4, but the bike still felt really good. I still feel really good. So I've done 4 miles now. Knees have got no problems at all. It's going to take me a few minutes just to change my GoPro mount from this bike to my Orbea, but I'll see you in a few seconds to do the laps on the e-bike. So I've had a few minutes just to get my breath back and swap over the GoPro mount. I'm now back on the e-bike, and so I'm going to do the first gentle lap, and I'm going to have the motor on full assistance just so I can get a feeling. Now, before I even pull off, I can tell the difference that the disc brakes are making, and just pulling away now, that assistance from the motor is very, very useful. Straight away, I'm up to 15 miles an hour, and I don't feel that that has taken any effort at all. At this point of the ride on the TCR, I was cruising along at 15 miles per hour, the same as I am now. And to be honest, from a riding point of view, it's no harder, it's no easier. Going at cruising speed, I'm now doing 17 miles an hour without any great problem at all, and so this is very comfortable. At this point I won't be getting any assistance at all from the motor because I'm doing 17 miles an hour. The motor will have cut out, so again now I'm purely under my own power, but I think the assistance that you get pulling away, or should you slow down going up an incline, makes a big difference because you can stay at the same speed, and that just helps overall when you don't have to use as much power to get back up to that cruising speed. Now I will get a fairly good indication of the difference from the e-bike in a few seconds when I come to this junction. On the TCR, when I turn this corner, I could tell the difference in the brakes and in pulling away again like I am now. And so there, the brakes did feel a lot more reliable, and I felt the motor kick in just to get me back up to cruising speed once I'd come around the corner. So that should prove beneficial in the time, and also just in my amount of energy that I've got. Now, it was at this point on my first lap on the TCR where I felt that I was struggling to talk to the camera. I'm about halfway around and I was really noticing how out of breath I was, even just cruising, and whether I'm just a little bit more warmed up, it could be that, but I'm certainly not finding it anywhere near as difficult to talk and cycle at the same time. So not the most scientific of conclusions, but I'm certainly finding this run a little bit easier. And I suppose you could say that after this, which is now my third lap around the block, that I should be slightly more out of breath, but just at the moment everything's good. The results of that lap do actually surprise me. It didn't feel a lot faster, it certainly felt easier, but that run was 7:40, which was 26 seconds faster than I did it on my road bike, and I had an average speed of 16.5, which was a mile an hour faster than I did on my TCR as well. So clearly I think getting the assistance in the slow parts, pulling away from junctions, really made a difference. I don't think it affected my overall cruising speed because that felt about the same, but it certainly made a difference. So 2 miles as fast as I can on my e-bike. Off we go. So I've managed to get up to 20 miles an hour again on the flat. I must admit, it does feel harder. Now, whether it's harder because this is now my 4th lap, or whether I am noticing the weight, can't be totally sure. That's been a really useful experiment with quite a few surprises, one of which is just how nice a TCR still feels. It does feel a lot lighter, the frame does feel a lot looser, it feels like there's more movement than in the Orbea. That feels a lot more solid and substantial, but equally I did get faster times from the Orbea on both runs, both the cruising one and the flat out one, which does surprise me. I'll put the times here for the TCR and here for the Orbea, but you can see on both runs, the slow one and the quick one, I was faster on the Orbea, which does surprise me because I did expect that on the fast all-out, well, I hesitate to call it a sprint because I wouldn't really say that I was sprinting, but I was going as fast as I could. But on that run, I was faster as well on the Orbea. Now that really did surprise me. But I know that on a long distance ride, 20 or 30 miles, I would much sooner be on the Orbea. But the motor really helps out when you get further into the ride. Even though this is a light bike and it's easy to ride, you do notice as your energy starts to drain, it becomes much more difficult to ride, and that extra bit of assistance from the motor is why I had the e-bike in the first place, and it really does make a difference, and this experiment today has proved it. Now, if you want to set blistering times and really get fit, then a normal road bike is probably the thing to go for. Now, you can still improve your fitness with an e-bike, but in my opinion, it's much more fun, and it's definitely the one that I would go for. Now, I do intend doing some more comparisons between my e-bike and my road bike, maybe on a longer distance or a hill climb, just to get a feeling for how the two different bikes perform. Now, if this is something that interests you, then let me know down below in the comments, or you can also nip over to my Facebook account and leave me your comments there. Now, if you like what I do on the channel and want to help support me to make future content like this, then you can do that by clicking the like, subscribe and the bell notifications, because it really helps me out and it makes sure that you don't miss out on any future content. Watch out for next time's video, that's going to be going up soon, but in the meantime, it's been great to OMC you. Stay safe and I'll see you soon. My hip. Just going to be very what's the word? What really has surprised me is just how nice the TCR subscribe and the bell notifications, because the sun's bloody gone in.